Most parents, when they think about a tantrum, they think about the moment it peaks. The screaming, the hitting, the dropping on the floor. That moment is the least useful moment to intervene. By the time a tantrum reaches full intensity, you lost the window for redirection. And it's not the time for you to teach your child in that moment. We look at it from a behavioral point of view. In that moment, they're not ready to listen. Okay? So the behavior has its own momentum. What you do at that point has very little influence on the behavior and a significant chance of making it worse. In this lesson, I'm going to show you what a tantrum actually looks like across time and where the real opportunities to intervene are. Okay. A tantrum is not a single event that appears out of nowhere. There is no behavior that appears out of nowhere. No behavior. Every single living organism has a function has a purpose for the behavior. It's a cycle with predictable phases. And behavior analysts, they have documented this pattern consistently across populations and settings. When you know the phases, you can see the tantrum coming before it arrives. And I'll share with you these phases. Okay. So first we have baseline, we have the agitation, then we have acceleration, then we have the peak, we have the de-escalation, and then the recovery. Most parents are only aware of one of them. Yeah. Now, baseline is the starting point. This is where your child is calm and regulated. Behavior is not present or it's very low. It's very like at the lowest level. This is the phase where teaching happens, where your connection happens, where you build the relationship that makes every other intervention more effective during baseline. When you reach agitation, this is where the cycle actually starts. Something has shifted. Your child's behavior starts to change in very subtle ways. Maybe increased body tension, maybe withdrawal, maybe repetitive behavior increasing, maybe shorter responses, they avoid eye contact. These are early warning signs and they are almost always present before a tantrum escalates. We are just not trained to, we are not trained to detect those subtle things in the moment. This is why trained observers only can detect these things. This is the most important phase in the entire cycle because this is where early intervention is still possible in the agitation phase. A small environmental adjustment at this point, like for example, you reduce the demand, you back off a little bit, you offer a break, you offer choices, you provide sensory support, when you do those things, you can prevent the cycle from continuing. You can stop it. Most parents miss this phase entirely because the signals are not as obvious. When we reach acceleration, this is when the behavior begins to escalate visibly. The intensity is increasing, the redirection is becoming harder. It's not easy for you to redirect them now. At this point, the window for intervention is closing very quickly. The most effective response here, so you say, okay, what do I do here? You reduce all demands, you reduce your own verbal output, your own talking, your own speaking, and you focus on the safety rather than behavior change or putting logic in the head of your child to stop that behavior. The most intense point in this is the peak. The peak is the worst one. This is like a full tantrum. At this phase, your only goal or your only goals are safety and non-reinforcement from what we discussed before. You are not teaching here. And this is the biggest mistake that parents and educators, they do. They try to teach in that moment. There is no negotiation. You're not trying to explain stuff. Like I said, you're not trying to reason or put logic into their head. That's not how it works. You are ensuring that no one gets hurt and you are not providing the consequence that reinforces the behavior, since now you know about consequences. and the functions of behavior. With de-escalation, that follows the peak. No behavior will stay at the peak forever. It will decrease. The behavior will decrease in intensity. The child is starting to recover. This phase is often misread, let's say, as the child being ready to engage. They intervene or they provide something too fast, attempting to discuss what happened, tell me what happened, comfort physically, or return to the demand that caused this whole thing, so that now you have a re-trigger, like you are re-triggering the cycle. Recovery is when the child returns to baseline. He's calm, he's regulated, the behavior of tantruming or other problematic behaviors are absent. This is where you can start your reconnection with the child. And eventually, for a gradual return to the routine or the demand that was before the tantrum, the sustained attention, you gave the look, whatever it is, that might be an attention reinforcement have occurred. Okay? Even if that was the compassionate thing to do in the moment. Okay? This is not about blame. It's about understanding what you're doing, the mechanism. Every tantrum that ends with a reinforcing consequence makes the next tantrum more likely to happen under the same conditions. This is what you need to learn and what you need to know and change from what you know about parenting and about behavior with others. This is a behavioral pattern that needs to be addressed systematically, starting with the agitation phase, not the peak. Okay? The tantrum cycle gives you a map. Most parents have been responding at the peak, which is the phase with the least leverage and the highest risk of accidental reinforcement. The real intervention window or windows are at baseline and agitation. That is where behavior change actually happens, and you don't accidentally make it worse in the future. So the kid in the future will learn that I need to escalate to this point to get what I want or to get rid of what I don't want. In the next lesson, I'm going to give you a specific step-by-step response protocol organized around these phases. What to do before the tantrum builds, what to do during, and what to do after. Okay? It's built on everything we have covered so far. See you there.